Welcome to episode 15 of the Go Get 'em Agility podcast. My name is Margaret Hughes, and I'm your host with Emma Hughes. Once again,
Hello.
she's joining me. Hi, Emma.
I know. I'm back. I'm back, baby. I'm crawling back on my hands and knees.
Yes. No, not crawling. I've been begging you.
Oh,
I've been begging you to
right,
come back,
right.
and I'm so glad that you finally said yes again. All right. So, what are we talking about today?
We're finally talking about agility. I don't have to talk about the cute little baby,
Who's
uh,
still very cute.
the dog baby. No human babies. Yeah, we're not talking about Eli today. We are talking about verbals. And I will be attempting to bring in some backside throttle conversations. I don't know if I'll be successful, but I believe that backsides are very, very important to the verbal community and to teaching a backside throttle, you must have verbals.
Okay. So, we're talking about verbals, and you went on this long
Yeah.
conversation about backsides and
I love them. I love them.
okay, so verbals. Verbals going anywhere from saying your dog's name to an obstacle name to calling them
Getting
come
a leash
or
on.
left,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, get dressed. In your opinion, do you think that verbals are required for agility?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think they're required. I myself would never go into a trial without verbals, but I have seen multiple people train their dogs solely based on motion. You know, people that might speak very quietly, or, you know, people that might have old dogs, deaf dogs. I know Millie's hearing went a little bit at the end of her agility career. So you don't need them, but I do believe that they're incredibly useful. I know in my own experience that they're lifesavers. What about you?
Well, yeah, I don't think that they're required. I think that they're the last thing that dogs listen to unless highly trained. So motion and location will override any sort of verbal unless it's highly trained, including their name, right? So,
Mm,
but their name, I think, is the most powerful of a turning cue. So a soft turn or a hard turn out of a tunnel, I think giving them information of where you're at is very powerful. Verbals. So the only two verbals that I stress my students to teach their dogs and get a really good understanding of them, especially for young dogs, is the teeter and the dog walk. And so that's going off of my knowing that the verbal discrimination between those two obstacles is so important for a dog to understand which one they can run on and which one they need to put the brakes on for and which one's going to move. So the verbal, because they
right,
both
because they look the same, don't they?
they look identical from the dog's vantage point. So on straight approach, the teeter and the dog walk look identical. There are slight differences, but I don't think the dogs pay attention to those. So the slight difference is that teeters do not have slats. They don't have ridges to help the dog grip. And they also, the teeter has two contact yellow or red contact points, one on the downside, one on the upside or on the end. Sorry, one on the beginning and one on the end. Whereas the dog walk, it's 36 feet apart are the contacts, the yellow or the red contacts. So for verbal discriminations between the teeter and the dog walk, absolutely want my students to teach their dogs a verbal. And I think it takes hundreds and hundreds of repetitions for the dog to actually gain the understanding of what teeter means and what dog walk means, or
Mm.
whatever word.
Especially if you're teaching your dog to come to the end of the teeter, right? You know, not just to walk up it and to complete it, but to actually run up and then stop.
Exactly.
So yeah, that is,
To
I mean,
drive to
that
the
is
end.
actually, it's literally a lifesaver. I mean, you know, I couldn't imagine a dog breaking a leg, you know, I'd be devastated.
Yeah. I think there's more. I think
So
there's more
yeah,
damage done. I think there's more damage done on the dog walk though, as far as jumping
yeah,
off the
I think,
teeter versus falling off the dog walk.
yeah, I think you're right.
I
I
think
think so.
I kind of see the teeter fly off while it's not great, especially for small dogs. I see it more as kind of jumping off the back of the couch. So I don't see
Mm,
it as a massive thing, it scares some dogs. It really scares them. But physically, unless they're little, it's not a huge deal. Jumping off, it's kind of more the owner's reaction of what happens when they do a fly off.
Right.
All right. So, okay. So verbals for me personally, yes, I don't think that verbals are required, but I do think that they're extremely useful. I do think that they're required if you want distance. I think they're required if you want obstacle independence. I think they're required if you want to encourage your dog to drive forward and like go find the weed pulls, go find the tunnel entrance. And they're required on a discrimination. So if you have a tunnel jump discrimination, unless you're really, really good with your location, then if you're not in location, then you absolutely need verbals.
Yeah, I think verbals are required on premier courses for sure. I think that there's
I don't think they're required,
No,
but they are for the
definitely.
fast dogs. For the fast dogs,
No, I think
they are.
Oh, I disagree. I think if you want to be continually successful, and I'm not talking about one-off, being excited that you've gotten your premier cue for, the first time after 100 tries. It's like, well,
Yeah, but at 3 yards a
maybe we have
second, 3 yards a second, dog, their handlers
Hey,
can keep
don't
up
be
with
rude.
them.
That's what Dottie does.
No, but
Okay,
okay, I'm talking, but even
no, I know what you mean.
if you can keep up with your dog, then I think you can do a premier course. Maybe not smoothly, but you can do a premier course with motion and location.
Okay. I think you're right.
I mean, and of course, some
Disagree.
trained skills.
I disagree. I disagree with only because also I lied. I feel like I should say that Dottie does 5 yards a second. So for all those people out there, I'm kidding. I think that if you have, let's say you have a slow dog that you can keep up with, on foot, that's great until you get to the backside, right? And they don't know what to do.
Well,
Right?
no, but
You're
you
trying
have
to push this dog. You're trying to push this dog around a stanchion, and they've lost, all the speed that they've gained, and they don't know what they're doing, and they just kind of look at you, and they're like, "Okay, what do I do now?"
Right. Okay. So, but are verbals required? I think the verbals are extremely useful for.
I guess that would be motion, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and
The dog understanding the motion of going around.
Yeah, and teaching, some of these skills like threadles, teaching wraps, an in wrap, so the dog's looking at a jump. They're not supposed to take the side they're supposed to come into you and then go to the backside. So an inside back wrap. I don't know what other people call it,
Yeah,
but I call
goodness.
it. What do you call it? You call it wrap.
I do. I need to change that actually.
So it's an in wrap and
In's a slice, and then wrap's a wrap.
okay, so
But they're both in. Yeah, it's confusing. I actually have to change it because that'll be another one of my points that I bring up about verbals. Actually, I'll bring it up now because now's a good time. Your verbals should not sound like each other. Otherwise, everybody will get confused and everybody's going to be mad at each other. Case in point, my back and wrap sounds very similar, and I'm surprised that Dottie hasn't killed me yet because of that. Right? I mean, right? If you were running
just an
very,
FYI,
very fast with the
just an FYI, I've been using get back.
Yes, exactly. Back. Right. I've been trying to change my backside cue to get back, right? Because it sounds different than back, wrap. It sounds different. So
yeah.
But
also there's some yes and no, there's some dogs are smart and they are situational as well. So if they're at the teeter and you say wrap, they're going to ignore you.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So it's situational. But if you're back,
I was talking about like jump stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So so we're talking jump verbal discriminations and going. If they're on your left, they go to the left jump stanchion. That would be a back. If they're on your left, they would go to the right jump stanchion to the backside. That would be a wrap. And then you have.
It depends, though. Are you running past the jump and they do a little slice and dice action? It really depends on the course. If you ever get confused, you could just email one of us and we'll.
Okay, so if your dog's on your left hand side, You're going
Jordan Biggs does this a lot. She does the inside slice while she runs past the jump. She's very good at it.
right. Okay.
So
So let me describe it. So you're running with your dog towards a jump. Dog's on your left side. You want them to go to the back side on the right side of the jump stanchion. So they're staying next to you, in between the jump and you. They're going to the back side. Then there's the slice is where they jump and go to the left wing.
Yeah, they continue moving forward.
So they essentially do an S, an upside down S or a backwards S, right? Versus a wrap is you're running with your dog. They're coming to the right side wing, to the back side, and they're going to do a big 360 circle and continue in the same direction you started in.
Right.
Okay, so it's like an O.
Right.
O. All right.
I think another really good example of the inside S slice curve, Daisy Peel with Chispa did it in one of her opening runs at WAO or EO, and I believe it was in 2018.
Oh, she did one where I think there was 3 lines of jumps
in a row, and she did 3 in a row.
And I think it was backside, and then she had to do a treadle in treadle.
Yeah, but she did it 3 times in a row. It was great.
It was
so anyway,
beautiful.
If you're wondering what the slice looks like.
Yeah, slice is taking a jump at an angle, and a wrap is taking the one wing. So a slice, you're essentially doing both wings, right? You're slicing the jump between the 2 jump wings. A wrap is you're wrapping one wing and continuing on in any direction, essentially.
Right.
And then there's pulling up on your right side, pulling up on your left side.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It really is. It's actually easier.
It's very complicated to talk about these.
I know.
On a podcast. We need to do a video.
I know. I haven't done agility in like 3 months, so I'm like all confused. But I wanted to bring up the criteria of threadles and backsides. My personal criteria, this is not saying that you should follow it, but I have found it to be successful. So I will be telling you about it. For your criteria for this backside, you are essentially teaching a dog to do something unnatural. Agility is already unnatural, but teaching a dog to go to the backside of a jump and take it as fast as they can while you are possibly running in another direction is not going to make sense in their little heads when you first introduce it. And so that is why you have to stick to your criteria. So if your dog does it wrong, you can't really reward them for it because now you're teaching things that are wrong. And obviously that's the same with a lot of agility aspects, but the backside, you have to get it right all the time in order to cement that.
What?
And because no, I'm continuing on.
Wait, you got to reward effort. No. You got to reward effort.
No, but you can't.
You're going to lose some dogs if you don't reward effort. Because
here's my next point. Here comes my next point. This is why you have to teach these on confident dogs, right?
No, I completely disagree with you.
Okay,
because it's a handling problem.
A dog that knows the obstacle, a dog that is confident in its ability to do the obstacle. Because if you are telling your dog that they're wrong, they're going to think that they're doing the jump wrong, not the actual angle bit or whatever you want them to do.
Okay, yes. No, I agree with you. You got to keep it, you got to slice it so thin for non-confident dogs for sure. But even confident dogs, you don't want to completely blow up your training that you've already done because you can't figure out how to teach them a backside verbal.
Well, that's the big question. Is it you or is it them?
Yeah, it's you. It's you because you can do it without a verbal. You can do it solely on motion and location. And so if you're adding a verbal, first you have to make sure that you can do it with motion and location. And then if you can do it with motion and location, then you add the verbal on. So and then slowly pull away from the location and the motion and see if your verbal is intact.
Right.
But even if they get it wrong, so while I wouldn't praise
I'm not saying you should I'm not saying you should explode on your dog and be like, oh my God, you're the worst. Like don't do that.
Thanks for clarifying, Emma.
I don't abuse my dogs. I would like the jury to know.
But you got to keep them in the game. You got to keep them wanting to come back for more.
Right. My point being is that if a dog can either hit the contact or it doesn't, right? And it's kind of the same with backsides. It either does it or the dog does it or it doesn't. And so like I'm trying to think now. I guess it's all
I want to
agility
interject.
like
I want
that.
to interject one thing. So
Yeah.
Jean Donaldson, who is my hero, my mentor. So she has a criteria. Essentially, it's 5. So if you do 5 repetitions and they're less than 5, then you go backwards. You go back and make it easier. If they're at 5 or 3 or 4, 3 to 5, then you increase it and make it harder. But if you increase it and make it harder and they fail, then you stay where you are on your 5 and gradually try and increase it. So if you're doing backsides and you're failing more than 3 times in a row, something's wrong. You need to go back. Make it easier.
That is good advice. Yes, I agree with that.
I can't remember what she calls it. I should go look it up.
Right. And I think that I don't know about me, I don't know about you, but I like to see dogs do things correctly. It makes me happy. And I know I don't mean it in like the way of, oh, it's so inspiring. It is very inspiring, but I mean it in the way that something clicks in my brain. It scratches an itch in my brain.
Yeah.
And I like to see repetitions done.
Like repetition for patterning.
I do. I think that's also
some people don't like that.
Yeah, and I think that's where I think I disagree with some people, and I'm sure some people disagree with me, which is totally okay. I love patterning. I love dogs guessing and being right because it reinforces what they're thinking. I think patterning is excellent, but I suppose it depends on the dog as well.
It does depend on the dog for sure. I like patterning. I like teaching a dog a pattern, but then I also like quickly changing that pattern to make sure that they don't pattern too much. Right. But verbals, I think that repeating verbals, because they take so long for the dog to thoroughly understand in all scenarios and all situations and in multiple locations, I think that using a pattern on verbals is a great tool. Why would you throw that out? Okay, so let's talk. Okay, so criteria for your verbal. Let's continue on this criteria for your verbals thought process.
Oh goodness, I don't even know. My current verbal is get back, get back, get back.
Yeah, let's go through them all.
Backsides.
Okay, so that's
shall we?
Backside.
I read somewhere that Enya Habul said that she had like 7 different verbals for jumps. I don't know if 7 is the correct number.
No, I do too.
But I think I do too. Let me count now.
Okay,
1, 2, 3.
Well, no, tell us what they are.
Oh, okay. Get back, get back, get back, which is just any backside ever. Wrap, 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 which is an inside wrap. In and in, which is an inside slice. And I think that's it.
No, then you have jump or over, which is go straight.
Oh, I guess that counts. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, that counts. And then jump with a tight turn. So jump.
See, I don't do that. See, this is where we disagree. Is I don't teach tight curve verbals only because my dogs are small.
Okay, hold on. Let me correct that statement because you do. You just don't realize you do. You're telling me that when you want a tight jump, when
I use motion for my tight jumps.
No. Listen to this. So when you send Dot or Millie over a jump, just a straight, normal, regular jump, and you want them to wrap the jump tightly to come back towards you, you're telling me you don't use your dog's name?
No.
What?
I say over. Yeah, I'm serious.
I gotta go back and watch some videos.
Yeah, I'm serious.
No, dot. I mean, that's a turning cue. Their name is a turning cue,
but maybe not on a jump. Because, okay, well, here's my question. Like, this is a genuine question, not trying to be like weird. My, what's it called? Rear cross cue, the worst cue in the history of the world, which is that a jump verbal? Because I only ever do it on jumps.
Well, it is. Okay. You can use it on a jump, right? So you could
Okay, does that fill
so hold
the
on, let's clarify that.
category then? That makes
So
sense now.
so rear cross is your rear
Yeah,
cross. And
and
mine
it
I
wasn't
think was
supposed to be.
so
I should
so
make it like switch or something.
yeah, my
Because you can't hear it.
if I teach Eli, it'll be switch. It'll either be
Yeah,
switch
switch is good.
or I'll go to left right for
Yeah, left right's
turn,
good too. Oh,
turn
that's
right,
true.
turn
I
left.
tried to teach Dottie left right. Dottie knows left right, but only based on motion. So she can turn left and right independently on a jump, but it has to be. I have to have my hand
Okay.
out
Well,
there.
did you ever teach directionals on the dog walk?
No, Jordan told me to, and I never did. Sorry, Jordan, if you're listening. I love you so much. Jordan Biggs is a very good example of verbals off the dog walk and contact obstacles. If you watch some of her videos, she can get her dogs to turn. Literally, she will have
So
their
just
the front of their body turning off the dog walk while their rear legs hit the
wow,
contact zone on a running dog walk. It is incredible.
that is nice. I think Sarah Baker does too. I mean, I know a ton of
I
people,
think she does. I think a
but I
lot of
think
people
that
do.
if you're gonna go for those really fast running contacts, especially on the dog walk, I I think you're required to have directionals off the end. If you have a fast dog.
Yeah,
If you don't have a fast dog,
yeah.
you're left with rear cross stuff if you're, at least up there because
Right. It depends on how
very
fast you
difficult
are,
to
I
do a
suppose.
very difficult to do a front. It's what?
It depends on how fast you are
Yeah, it depends
in
on how,
relation to your dog.
but even a
You could
slow
have
dog,
the slowest dog in the world, but if you're the slowest runner in the world, gotta get those
but,
verbals in.
but even dogs that aren't like super duper fast on the dog walk, they'll still beat their owners on the dog walk. A frame, not
Right.
so
Except
much.
Dottie for some reason.
That's not
um,
true. That's not true. She
I
just
just
thinks
like insulting.
she just
I
thinks
like
too much
insulting
of the
her.
contacts.
The dog has a brain on her,
Okay,
and
let's
that
not go
is
on.
the biggest mistake.
Let's not go on, Dottie.
Um,
All
poor
right. So
Dot.
what other verbals? Okay, what about
Okay.
your release word? I want to talk about your release word because this is a
Oh,
verbal.
yes.
So here's a verbal that I think is fully underrated. And I think that people don't realize how powerful the release word can or cannot be with
hmm
with relation to their start, their contacts, and their pause table. So I think that people don't realize how motion sensitive dogs are to physical release cues. So hand motion, stepping, even people do this like little lurch. They do this little like almost
Oh, yes, I've seen that.
they take a
I know
breath
some
in.
people run.
Well, they
Yeah,
take a breath
some
in
people
and they
run off
kind of
the.
jump. And the dogs
Yeah,
it as a release word. So not being fully verbal on release words, I think it gets a ton of dogs. Oh, it just causes all
yeah,
line problems.
yeah. Start lines are hard too.
They are hard.
Because and it depends because I know a few different people have different release words for different things. So like their walkout cue, their stay, sit, stay. Their release cue for the lead out is different than their release cue for the dog's contacts or whatever. Mine are
Really?
all the same. But I was like, that's weird. Not that it's bad. It's just I've never seen it before.
Okay, so
Um,
they have a specific start line release word. That's not a
right.
bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
No, it's
I'm
not.
not opposed to
All
that.
of mine are the same.
All of
Okay.
mine are the same, and I've already started Eli's release word, not only
Good
with
boy.
stay,
What is
but
it? Is it
it's
release?
no, I'm sticking with okay.
Okay is my favorite one. I love okay. It
Really,
feels so casual.
it's so ingrained in me. I really did want
Yeah,
to change it, but I just started
yeah.
using it the a couple days ago. So he has to wait and get a release word on his crate. He has to wait and get a release word coming out of his X pen. He has to wait. Well, now I've added the okay. I started it on the travel plank casually, and then I've started it on his stay work. So he's on. I think we've done three sessions or 4 sessions on stay, very short ones, and I've started to add in okay on his stay.
Nice.
So yeah, verbal stays, verbal
Yeah,
stays, or
yeah. Verbal
release
stays are
words.
very important. And if your verbal stay is good, if your dog is half deaf and 10 years old, at one of the loudest competitions you've ever been to, and you're trying to tell her okay, and she won't go, she won't release because. So yeah, when you get to that moment, you will know. You're like, yes, I've taught this dog
So
well.
I guess
That
a
was very
hand
awkward.
signal. I guess a hand signal.
Maybe that would help.
So I guess a
Poor
hand
Millie.
signal isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, I was like, why isn't she running? Okay,
I think we're
it
done
is
talking about.
12:30, so I will be taking
Yeah,
a
I
nap
mean,
now.
I think we're so verbals aren't required. They're great.
No,
They're
they're
great for
excellent.
distance.
I would never
They're
go without them,
they're great for
personally.
discriminations. They're great for independence. Of all
Yeah,
the six cues out there, verbals are the last for dogs to truly understand.
yeah, I
Maybe
agree.
hand signals are right up there too, but um, yeah, eye contact they get, motion they get,
Mhm.
location they get. What else? Shoulders they get.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think
verbals are
you
trained.
train verbals just like how you train every other agility obstacle, right? You just keep doing it. You just have a sound that you stick to, and you slowly get harder and harder and harder till it
Okay,
works.
let me just give you a little schooling on overshadowing, because
Oh,
if you give two signals at the exact same time, so
oh, that's true.
if you give a
Mhm.
motion signal and a verbal signal at the exact same time,
Right.
the stronger of the two cues is going to overshadow the weaker. And so while
Yeah.
they may learn over time, it's going to take twice as long, if not more, for an overshadowed verbal cue to be installed than
Hmm.
the stronger. So they'll take the one that's more salient.
I agree.
Okay, that's called overshadowing. Look it up
Have fun with that.
if you don't believe me. And it's famous for people overshadow verbals all the time. So we think that the dog understands the sit cue, but can they really sit on a hose pipe up on a table? Probably not. They're probably better at a hand
Right.
signal if you do that. So,
Right.
oh, and here's another way to test verbals as far as sit down stuff like that is if you really want to test your signal, put your dog in like a mirror where you can see them, a reflection, so an oven reflection or a window reflection. So your back is to the dog, so the dog's behind you, and give your verbal without any hand signal. Can your dog do a sit down stand with a verbal and your back is to the dog? And if they can't, then they don't truly understand their verbals. So your back is to the dog. You can see the dog's reflection in the window. So if they do a verbal sit, you can praise them immediately without looking at them and then throw a cookie behind you. So once you praise them, then you can turn around and give them something. But it's a great way to see how good are my verbals for sit down stand. Obviously, this is difficult to
Mhm.
do in a trial, but or in a
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it on course.
Emma and I were cut off while doing this podcast. Sorry about that. I'm going to say goodbye from the both of us. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Woof woof.